I genuinely think most people are ignoring some of the best video games ever made. Not because they're bad, but because they're old. Which is really ironic because that logic hasn't stopped Bethesda from porting Skyrim for the 200th time. And that's kind of insane, because we already have decades of incredible games just sitting there, finished, complete, waiting for someone to go and pick it up for the first time. So, for today, I want to talk about why retro games still matter, and why I keep choosing some of the classics over some brand new releases.
There are so many incredible retro games that it feels almost irresponsible to ignore them all. Entire libraries, eras of games that are meant for us to rediscover, even genres that were built, perfected, and left behind that ended up paving the way for future games. And even though a lot of the releases today are much bigger in scale, flashier, and even more expensive in their budgets than ever before, there's something about retro video games that still hits in a way that a lot of these modern studios are trying their best to emulate. You see, retro games didn't want to be your second job. They didn't want to be your lifestyle. Unless you were trying to post dumb videos about it on YouTube, then my bad, I guess that one's on me. They just want to be played. You put the game in, you hit start, and within a few seconds, you were immersed. No time-consuming launcher updates, no mandatory online accounts, absolutely no microtransactions and gotcha mechanics involved, and no promised mechanics or features that are locked behind post-release DLCs. Because of these hardware limitations that the consoles had at the time, these games had to be very tight-knit. Controls, they needed to be universal. The level design mattered more than ever before. See, optimization was crucial in this period of time. Every second that they had counted. A bad game couldn't hide behind spectacle, and a good game didn't need to. And that's part of the big reason why so many of them still hold up so well today, and why so many of these games still feel like they have a sort of charm or whimsy that a lot of indie developers are trying to recreate, and modern developers have left behind for years. Something else that often gets overlooked is a lot of these retro games, even at the time, were strange. That's because these developers were constantly experimenting and figuring out new ways to create these experiences. There were unique mechanics being introduced for the first time, or at least being popularized for the first time. There were unhinged stories being told, and genres that barely even make sense as a genre today. Some of these games feel like they were made by someone who had a vision and was determined to see it through all the way to the very end. Because these development teams were smaller in scale, the ideas that were shared felt more personal. You could almost feel the personality bleed into the games themselves. You could feel it baked into the code. Right now, a lot of modern games are scared to go outside of the box. Studios are kind of pushing towards something a little bit more safe in its approach. Retro games didn't have that luxury, and honestly, in my opinion, that made them better. They weren't being designed by an entire committee. They were being designed by people who wanted to create something cool, or at least share something interesting. And I'll take interesting over safe any day. Maybe not any day. Most days. A lot of these retro games aged better than people expected to. Sure, some graphics are pretty rough. Some controls are questionable. Tank controls, which weren't bad. They just assumed you also were forklift certified. I've never been forklift certified. And tutorials were essentially just vibe checks at the time. But good design is timeless. When a game nails its movement, feedback, and general responsiveness, the pacing of the story, sound design, it doesn't matter what year it might have came out. That's why people are still playing so many games from the NES, SNES, PlayStation 1, GameCube, even PlayStation 2 eras of video games. Not just for the nostalgia that they're experiencing today, but because they're still genuinely enjoyable experiences and worthwhile. That's part of the reason why so many people are looking to experience what these games have to offer. Because fun doesn't expire. And yeah, real life exists. Money is tight for a lot of people right now, myself included. When money's tight for a lot of people, spending on your hobbies, unfortunately, that's just the first thing that's gonna get cut out. That's just reality. But these retro games, they remind you that you don't need the newest release to have a meaningful experience. So many of these games are affordable, accessible, and already proven. Well, maybe not affordable. A lot of these devices are. The value is already there. The history, it's already been written. It's already set in stone. So sometimes that makes going back feel comforting. You don't have to gamble $70 on whether you're gonna like something or not. And in this economy, I would rather gamble on anything else. This video is sponsored to you by... Modern games wouldn't exist today without the foundations that helped to build them. Every mechanic, every design shortcut, it all came from somewhere. And when you play these older games, you start to notice those foundational pieces. Older games help to give context in these situations. They remind you that the video game industries and video games themselves didn't just appear fully formed. It evolved, and a lot of those stepping stones at the time were genuinely innovative and brilliant. Honestly, a big reason why these retro games are still a part of my life is because of how accessible they've become. Between emulation and modern day handhelds, these games aren't trapped on old hardware anymore. They're portable, preserved, they're playable in a way that actually you could fit into your everyday life. That's something I want to talk about a little bit more, being able to carry these decades of gaming history right there in your pocket. It's truly something else. That kind of changes the way that we could approach and look at things. But that's a video for a different day.
I love new games. I really do. But I don't ever want to forget the ones that got us here. Because buried in decade-old cartridges, dusty discs, and forgotten libraries are some of the best experiences this medium has to offer. You don't need to chase what's next all the time. Sometimes, the best game you could play is one that's already waiting for you.
So if you're getting overwhelmed by the current price of entry for a lot of these modern games, or you're just feeling a little burnt out in general, go play something old, something classic, something strange, or hell. If you're gonna end up purchasing a video game, purchase something from a developer who's put their heart and soul into their craft, alongside your most recent Pokemon game. Looking at myself.
Retro games don't feel stuck in the past anymore. They feel alive. And being able to take them with you wherever you are might just be the best possible way to experience them. My name is Delta. I'll see you around.